On the morning of Thursday, the 18th of February 1943, Professor Kurt Huber was giving a lecture on philosophy at the Ludwigs-Maximilians University in Munich. In the meantime, brother and sister Hans and Sophie Scholl were in the atrium of the university. They had a suitcase full of leaflets written by Kurt Huber and edited by Hans Scholl and Alexander Schmorell. The siblings laid out the leaflets in the university building, and apparently unseen, they then decided to go home. However, it would appear that they realized that they still had some leaflets and went back to the atrium. Sophie threw the leaflets over the balcony, but this time she was spotted. The caretaker, a locksmith named Jakob Schmidt, saw them, rushed to them, declared them arrested, and handed them over to the head caretaker, Albert Scheithammer. The two then brought them to the 40-year-old university administrator Karl Ernst Hefner, who in turn notified the Gestapo. The Scholls were then taken to the Wittelsbacher Palais, the Gestapo headquarters on Wiener Strasse in Munich. The Scholls were members of an anti-Nazi resistance organisation called the White Rose. They produced 6 leaflets which were distributed at various locations around Germany. They were interrogated over the weekend, put on trial, and then executed shortly afterwards. A propaganda event was organised in the university in the Auditorium Maximum on the day of the trial, the 22nd of February 1943. Nazi officials hoped that this would serve as a public statement against the actions of the White Rose, while Sophie Scholl expressed the hope that her death would lead to a revolt in the student body. The Nazi press claimed that 3,000 people attended. The rector of Munich University, SS Oberführer Walther Wüst, reported to the Reich Ministry of Education about what had happened. In this demonstration, the Munich student body first expressed their contempt for the machinations of those 4 traitors in an unusually impressive, even moving way, and at the same time showing their determined will to fight and win, their unshakable loyalty and willingness to devote themselves to the leader and the people. After the war, the story of the Scholl siblings and the White Rose was well known in Munich. The rector, Walther Wüst, had every reason to fear retribution. Walther Wüst was born in Kaiserslautern, Germany on the 7th of May 1901. He studied German, English and Indian Philology and received his doctorate in 1923. In July 1935 he was appointed acting dean by the then rector Karl Escherich and held this office until 1941 when he became the rector. Walther Wüst was appointed full professor of Aryan Culture and Linguistics at the Aryan Philology department at Munich University on the 1st of October 1935. This department was not a Nazi invention. It had been in existence since 1905. It needs to be made clear that as of August 1933, the rectors were appointed by the Reich Minister of Education and no longer elected by the professors. Wüst had joined the National Socialist German Workers' Party like many others on the 1st of May 1933. Although a latecomer, he soon became not only a speaker but also an organiser of Nazi Party district meetings. He took the topics for his lectures from his specialist knowledge and twisted them to suit Nazi ideology, particularly race theory. In this photograph we can see him giving a lecture on the 10th of March 1937 before an SS audience at the Munich Hackerkeller on the topic of the Führer's book Mein Kampf as a mirror of the Aryan worldview. The first time he made this speech was in 1936. I have a copy of his speech on that day. I won't read the whole thing right now, but in my opinion, even if the content is nonsensical, it is quite well written. He started off the speech with a joke. The great obligatory question posed by the title of my lecture, the Führer's book Mein Kampf as a mirror of the Aryan worldview, is most appropriately led by an anecdote which, even if it is perhaps not true, is nevertheless well thought out and revolves around the figure of Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. This Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel died of cholera in Berlin around 100 years ago. He's a man who had the greatest significance for us in the history of ideas because the entire political world of thought of the last century emanates from this man. He educated two groups of students. One is formed by Karl Marx, Max Stirner, and Ferdinand Lassalle, the people who founded Marxism and Bolshevism. But from this school also emerged another, world-wise thinkers such as Gentile and Corche, the founders of the political theory of fascism. And together with Fichte, Hegel must be considered the founder of Prussian political theory. A student once came up to this Hegel, whose importance I have briefly explained to you, and asked, "I've discovered some facts that do not agree with the ideas you represent." To which Hegel gave the memorable answer, "So much the worse for the facts." This is an anecdote told in jest, but here we see a very big question of an ideological nature, the question of what comes first, the idea or the fact, the reality or the worldview. Which of these two questions takes precedence? As far as one can research world history, there's a constant battle raging over these questions, and despite this, we as National Socialists must say that these questions have been decided with complete clarity today. We must say that the idea, the worldview, comes before the facts of reality. He then went on to explain why facts do not matter, but what he terms worldview does. This is an early interpretation of what has been called in more recent times alternative facts, and is, in my opinion, the very basis of conspiracy theories, which in their worst form, as the Nazis practiced it, led to the Holocaust. As far as Wüst was concerned, it was of course just a matter of getting rid of those who did not accept these conspiracy theories. In 1934 he joined the Nazi Teachers League and the Nazi Lecturers League. In 1937 he joined the SS, initially with the rank of Hauptsturmführer. In 1942 he became Oberführer, which was a more or less honorary rank, but he was placed on the personal staff of the Reichsführer SS, Heinrich Himmler. In addition to these party officers, Wüst held leading positions in numerous Nazi pseudo-scientific organizations. On the 1st of February 1937, the Reichsführer SS Himmler appointed him president of the German Ancestral Heritage Research Association, making him the de facto head under the official curator. From this period on, Wüst began to reorientate himself towards Nordic topics. From 1939, the roles in the ancestral heritage were reversed. Himmler now operated as president of the Research and Training Association. As curator, Wüst was now scientifically responsible to him, and thus also responsible for personnel policy. Wüst's goal within the organization was to provide a scientific justification for the Aryan worldview. In several lectures from this period, he demanded an unrestricted subordination, especially of history, the humanities and religious studies, to the ethnic idea. They had to completely subordinate themselves to the demands of the National Socialist State. Wüst was also co-editor of the journal Die Biologe, the central organ of the Reich League for Biology, published by J.F. Lehmann's Nationalist Publishing House. Biology also had to subjugate itself to the Nazi worldview. In the spring of 1939, Himmler instructed Wüst to assign the research task of early diagnosis of cancer to the 30-year-old Sigmund Rascher, later to become famous because of his criminal experiments carried out on concentration camp prisoners in Dachau. From 1943, Wüst was also president of the German Academy. He was also an SD informer, something he started in 1934. Wüst was also involved, as from 1943, in National Socialist propaganda to the Arab world. Hitler was to be portrayed as an apocalyptic figure for Islam in order to gain support there. As you can see, Wüst played a leading role in the organization of the sciences serving the Nazi state. In his inaugural speech of the 5th of May 1941, he made an unreserved commitment to Aryanism, the belief that a race of people originating somewhere in India ended up in Germany and the Nordic countries, mysteriously changing their skin and eye colour in the process of this trek, and this was thus the master race. On the 31st of July 1945 he was dismissed as rector, and shortly afterwards Wüst was arrested by the occupation authorities. He remained in the Dachau internment camp until 1948. He was dismissed from the University of Munich in 1946. By judgment of the Munich Main Chamber on the 9th of November 1949, Wüst was classified as an incriminated person in the denazification proceedings and sentenced to 3 years in a labour camp. After submitting several affidavits, the sentence was reduced to 6 months, and his fine of 1,950 marks was reduced to 500 marks. As a result of these proceedings, he lost half of his assets, which were confiscated to be used for reparation purposes, as well as the right to pursue his profession. However, he was later able to publish again on the subject of Indology, that is to say, the study of the history and cultures, languages and literature of the Indian subcontinent. He never again worked in a university, but he did manage to get back the title of professor in 1951. He got a job at the Bavarian State Library and retired from there in 1961. He also worked privately on a journal he founded. Despite the role he played in the judicial murders of the people involved in the White Rose, which became a symbol of German resistance to Nazism, and his previous high profile amongst academia in the whole country, he does not appear to have suffered much as a result. Wüst died on the 21st of March 1993 in Munich at the age of 91. I hope you found this interesting. I upload every Tuesday and every Friday at 2000 hours my time. I'm based in Poland and in Germany, and therefore I'm able to do research-based videos such as this one. If you'd like to know more about the White Rose and the young people who tried to resist peacefully National Socialism, then click on the link which will appear now. Thanks for listening.